Tampa Bay Spirits presents Haunted Campfire Tales Live. Welcome. Gather around the fire. Get comfortable, but not too comfortable. The true ghost tales are about to unfold.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan.
I guess it'll stop.
He's Les, and I'm Beth.
Did you say anything, Jess?
Sorry, muted. I'm Jess. Going smoothly.
I'm Robin.
I'm Joy.
All right, why don't we do that again, guys? No, I'm just kidding.
So sorry.
Like we don't remember who we are.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, tonight we're supposed to be talking about Irish legends, lore, and spirits.
In honor of St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, that is
I think it was it Joe Congel's idea?
probably.
Yeah, I think it probably was too.
Yeah.
So, everybody doing all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing great.
Okay. Before we get into all the Irish stuff, Jess, you had said you'd had some things happening at your house. Oh, look who's here. Marjorie Deering.
Hi, Marjorie.
Hi.
Hey, Marjorie.
Hello.
Marjorie.
Wasn't last night fun, Marjorie? Aren't those two really funny people? They're just sweet people. We had two former actors who then
Hollywood people,
yeah, that were on the show. She was on Star Trek as a nurse, and he was in Rockford Files and all kinds of stuff. And they're just really a riot, the both of them, and really nice. But then they got their PhD in psychology, and they've done, psychological stuff ever since then. Written self-help books and
Kind of a cool story.
Yeah.
them, yeah, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
I really like them a lot. We have a lot of fun with them. Yeah. Anyway, Marjorie was there and Joy was there. Then we all had a fun time. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about tonight, however.
Not at all. Nothing.
Anyway, go ahead, Jess. You wanted to share some things that had happened in your actual home.
Yeah. So a few mornings ago, I guess maybe about a week ago, my husband and I both work from home, and at our house we have two sliding glass doors that have that were locked at the time, and we have our front door, which is locked, and then we also have a door that goes out to a laundry room that has outside access. And I was working at the time in my office, and my kids were sleeping, and Adam had been in and out of the office, and then my husband, and then he texted me and was like, "Hey, can you let me inside?" And I'm like, that's weird, right? Like, what? So, I didn't even know he was outside. So I leave my office and I go and I walk into where the laundry room and the sliding glass door are, and the sliding glass door is locked. And then I go to the laundry room door, and it has two locks on it. It has the regular kind of like an inside door lock that you just turn the little knob on and vertically or horizontally to, lock or unlock it. And it was locked, which you could lock yourself out with that, right? By accidentally turning it and then shutting the door. But we also have the type of little deadbolt that's like a sliding deadbolt. So you have to slide it into the position and then turn it down so that it goes into the little position.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm explaining that well, but it's the little rod that goes in and then you lock it into place by pushing it down. And so I had to unlock both of those, and I opened the door and he's standing there, and I'm like, "What happened? How did this happen?" And he's like, "Oh, I must have locked myself out." And I was like, "Both locks were locked."
Oh,
So there's no way the kids were both still sleeping. Like, I didn't even know he was outside. He's like, "Are you sure you didn't come lock the door?" "No, I've been working at my desk." So, that was a little strange, and we've never really had anything happen here, not really. Um, I've had some times where I've woken up in the middle of the night and been like, "I don't I'm not gonna open my eyes because I don't wanna. I'm going to sleep right now," you know? But, uh, a few mornings later, I came out at, like, 5 in the morning, and everybody else was sleeping, and we have a room that's, like, our little video game, like, kind of rec room, where, um, we have, like, bookshelves and our gaming stuff and, like, a TV and everything, and, we have colorful backlights for, behind some of our displays and stuff, and when I walked into the kitchen, I can see that room, and some of those lights were on, and they were on and in you have to, like, press the button several times to get a certain color, like, of light, so they change color, they can be blue or pink or green or red or whatever, and they were red, and to do that, you have to select it, and press it several times. So those were on, and I thought that was strange, but I thought maybe Adam or the kids had turned it on and left it on all night. And the other strange thing was that the dishwasher there we always run the dishwasher before we go to sleep, and when I come out every morning, there are little indicator lights to show that it's run through its cycle and it's clean, and they don't turn off until you open the dishwasher, and, um, the lights weren't on the dishwasher, and I was like, "Ah, somebody forgot to run the dishes through," I'm like, "Dang it, my coffee mug," I'm a weirdo and I have to have, like, a specific coffee mug every morning at work. So I'm like, "My specific coffee mug is not gonna be clean." But then I opened it and they were clean and it was still even warm in there. Like, I could tell they had been run through. So those were just some weird random things. I mean, the lock thing was so, um like, shocking to me that I actually, like, searched the house for, like, to make sure there wasn't somebody who had come in while Adam had been outside and hiding somewhere, like, I checked any
yeah.
place that an intruder could have maybe gone, and hid out or something, 'cause, it was that, like,
Mhm.
strange that the door would lock itself after after he went out. I thought maybe there was a person, so it took a while for my adrenaline to, like, calm down because I went into searching for intruder mode. But and then the thing with the lights happened, and I did the same thing that day because 'cause I'm like, "Okay, is someone in the attic? Like, is there is someone frogging, Is there someone living in my walls?" Um, there's not, but yeah,
George says, I
George.
understand. I need coffee in the morning to raise me from the dead.
Well,
Yeah,
that's what he said the
definitely.
first time.
Well, since you brought up that, I'm going to do real quick something really strange that happened. Actually, it was day before yesterday. My husband came in, and he had the mail, and so we were talking. It was around lunch, and then so I came back to my office to work, and then he was going to work on his computer and work on bills and things. So he came in a couple of hours later, and he said, "Joy, I have looked everywhere, and I can't find the mail." And he said, "I don't know what in the world I did with it." So we combed the house, and I mean, we don't have a lot of, not having kids, we don't have a lot of clutter.
Yeah.
And I mean, I even, I said, okay, let me start at the mailbox and come in and think where I could possibly do it. So I even went in the car in case he thought to grab something and forgot he did that. But I went out to the mailbox, nothing there, walked all around the house. Well, we never could find it. I said, "What is it?" And he said, it was 2 flyers. He remembered the color, but didn't know what it was, and a bill. So he was like, I just hope that bill is not something I'm going to be late on. So the next day he comes back and he said, "I was checking to see if the mail had come yet." And I went out, and he holds up, he said, "This was the mail. It was in the box."
Weird.
And he said, I said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, maybe that was just the mail today." The mail just pulls up and leaves their mail. He said, "No, Joy, this was yesterday's mail." He said, "That must be one of your ghosts."
Yeah. Well, the stuff with the lights and the dishwasher, I thought it's very possible. Like, we have cats, so it's very possible the cats could have stepped on the light. They've never done that before, like to turn on those colorful lights that were backlit behind some of our displays. I'm like, it's possible. So that's not outside of the realm of possibility that the cats did that and that you just happened to step on it a couple times. Um, they've never done that before, but doesn't mean they couldn't now. And the light on the dishwasher also, like, maybe there was like a quick power outage or something. None of my other appliances were indicating a power outage or anything like that. So, but it does happen here a lot. So in isolation, I was like, I probably wouldn't have thought too much about it, but for both of them to happen on the same night, and then I'm like quizzing the kids. I'm like, "Did you happen to get up and like turn on the light? Like, did you go in the dishwasher?" They're like, "No," um, and so in conjunction with the other incident with the door lock, I'm just like, what is going on? So I'm keeping my eyes peeled. It's very possible it's just a coincidence and it was just, something. The door lock I can't explain. The lights I could definitely see being just a coincidence that happened, Um somebody forgot they left it on, or people are misremembering things, so possible. But I thought it was strange that it happened so soon after the other. So I'm going to wait and see if any other things happen, because I figure if somebody is trying to communicate, they'll keep trying. So I'll find out. I have done like a little bit of checking with like instruments, like EMF detector or flashlights, things like that, to see if there was any kind of communication here before, and I've never had anything like that. So we'll see. I'll keep you posted.
Yeah.
Have y'all noticed in any of the investigations you've done that things are more active at certain times of year? Because I wonder with the spring, there's a lot of, new life, new
Energy.
growth, and and everything. And I just, because you were talking about that, I was thinking about, of course, I was just, also reading about all of these nature things and spirits and everything in Ireland, which made me think of it, to ask the question, have you noticed that there's more activity in certain times of year?
I
We
don't
hear
think
more
it's
from.
seasonal.
Sorry.
Go ahead. You
We-
go ahead, Beth.
We hear more from people around Halloween about hauntings a lot of times.
Well, that would
And-
make sense, but
Yeah. And we also hear have a lot of things happen. And I'm wondering if this some of the experiences you have might be circling around that, around full moons.
I was going to say the full moon is
Oh.
the 25th.
Yeah.
Yep. The,
Things
woman-
are weird and different around the full moon. I teach, so I'm around children.
yeah.
And they're a gauge. I don't have to look at a calendar to know that there's a full moon.
Yeah.
Right. I was gonna say too, I work in car insurance, and when I would be in claims, like I used to do like first notice of loss, so people would call in and like report their claims to me, and you would notice like the full moon, there would be more strange things happening or more increased activity and calls during those times.
Same with when I was in the
nurses have
police
said that
department.
about the
Yeah.
ER too.
Mhm.
I used
That's
to
interesting.
work in the ER, and it would always be crazy around the full moon. Ask
you
any
got-
first responder if the full moon thing is real or not. Every one of them is going to tell
The
you.
the officers used to say that at the police department. They'd be like, "Up, yep, full moon's coming," and sure enough, there'd always be more.
Giddy up, here we
going
go.
Well, if you think that it can affect the tides, surely
Mhm.
it can affect
There you go.
fluids in your body.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. I agree with that 100%.
Mhm.
Yep. And also, I think there are not seasonal things with seasons like spring or fall, but there are times where I know I can feel, and Beth and I have talked about it, where you can feel like things are ramping up
Yeah.
spiritually. And then you can feel when times are like dead. No pun intended. I meant in the sense that there is not a lot of spiritual communication going on. So, I mean, I've noticed that for a long time. And
I have
also, Beth, I'll say, I haven't been getting anything lately. How about you? And she'll go, no, me either. And then there'll be times when it's like, pop, 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 pop. And
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. But I do think the full moon had something to do with it. That was my first thought.
I have a story of something that happened, which was actually, in comparison, it was very minor, but I was watching TV with my son, and I was in the recliner, and he was at the other end of the couch. And we're both sitting there, and we both saw there was one of the dog balls on the couch, and it gave a hop, rolled forward, and shot across the floor. And we both just looked at each other, and I'm like, Pippa, go get that ball.
Really? I think
Yeah, it was
that's
just it was like it was up against the back of the cushion. It just went hop, roll, and then that way, like somebody had just pushed it. And I mean, it was a very
like
minor
what
thing.
we're talking about. When did that happen?
That happened like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, that's so
Okay.
cool.
Yeah, it was just-
Interesting.
Yeah, and
Wait.
we both were just like, yeah, okay, Pippa, you can go, go. She was on the floor somewhere. We're like, go get that ball. It was
So-
meant for you.
Joy, when did that happen with the mail?
It was 2 days ago, the day before yesterday.
That's interesting. So all three of us have had some
Yeah.
interesting things happening within like a week or so.
And I have also,
Okay.
I'll tell you mine in a minute. Marjorie Deering said, I have no idea, Joy. And Marjorie, I was thinking the same thing. This is brilliant that you said that. But is it possible your husband had some kind of fluky flash forward type of experiencing something that was
Oh,
going
wow.
Ooh, I love that.
Oh, wow. You know, it's kind of, that would be kind of new for him because, I mean, I think some people miss things because they're not aware, or they just don't believe, and so they don't always notice things that happen or cues of things that happen.
Yeah.
And of course, the longer we've been together, the more that he does start to see things. And actually,
Yeah.
like a few weeks ago, he thought, well, he didn't think. He said, "I just saw Bailey. He just flashed by down the hall,"
Oh,
and
good.
and he's never seen anything like that. And he comes to me and he's just, I just saw him in the hall. And
Oh.
so I don't know. And I'm wondering, but that's a cool concept to think maybe he flashed forward, because I went out and looked and there was nothing in the mail. I mean, and then I said, "Are you sure? Were you talking to a neighbor and maybe, outside?" Cause he does. And he's like, "No, I just came back in." So anyway, but that's a very interesting concept of that.
It is. It is. Well, I was going to talk about elementals, and I will talk about them. I'm just going to read you one part. It's about these are the elementals in Ireland, which there are a lot of them. And one is the spirit elemental. They are in. Let me preface this by saying this isn't just in Ireland. I think these elementals are worldwide, but the Irish are very much aware of them and talk about them a lot. Spirit elementals are elementals that are made up of soul or spirit material rather than the traditional earth, air, fire, and water elements. They come from one of the other worlds into this dimension. That's the Irish belief. I had never heard of spirit elementals. All the other elementals on here I've heard of, except for two other ones, but we'll talk about that later. So this happened to me just the other day. I was sitting on our sofa, and I don't even remember what I was doing, but I was looking out into the room, and all of a sudden I saw this little like blue glowing thing, like, I don't know. It looked like pure light to me, blue light, and it was long, cylindrical, and it just shot out from underneath where I was sitting. And it was kind of like flying low across the carpet. And then it did a little ziggity zaggity hoppy thing up into the air, and then it poof disappeared. I think it was a spirit elemental. I mean, at the time I'd never heard of that, but I had said to Rob, I think that was some kind of little spirit thing. I said, I don't know what that was. I said, but that was really weird. And then I read about this. So I think things may be ramping up. We might hear more hauntings and stuff like that.
Isn't there like a big solar flare going on right now too? I wonder if that could be helping to promote things happening.
It'll be interesting with the eclipse too, because it comes right over us. We are in the total darkness thing.
Lucky.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah.
I was teaching the kids about that for science the other day, and Soren was saying, my son was saying, he wishes we were in the totality because that's so cool, you know.
Well, they're closing businesses, and I mean, and they're
Really?
telling people to keep and telling people to keep their dogs and pets inside because I guess it can hurt their eyes, and but they're expecting major traffic jams, and I mean they don't want any of those things to happen because a lot of people are coming because they've been showing the maps of where it's going and the little lines, and actually I think they're doing a state of emergency or something in Houston because I think they cross there or something, but or there's like more visibility, and it doesn't hardly ever rain there. So but people are flying in because they know that they're going to have a better chance at seeing it sunny and everything. But they're taking all kinds of precautions. I don't know that they're going to have. I don't think they're going to have classes on Monday.
That's wild to me. We had a total eclipse here a few years ago, and we didn't do anything like that. Instead, our Museum of Science opened up, and everybody could come in there and look at it through special
We weren't in the totality that time either, but we were close to it.
close to it. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, we've lived through a few, and where we've lived, they've never.
No, I have two, like partials, but a total, the one that I remember, it was like years and years ago. I mean, probably like 35 or 40 years ago that I remember what being in a total one, but no, nobody did. And of course, a lot of people didn't know at the time. They just run out and just look up, even though they had these funny things you were supposed to look through, and then it did a reflection or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was more of a curiosity, but no, they're going to great lengths right now.
That's wild. You're gonna have to let us know what happens. You know, go cuckoo. That's amazing.
I've got my glasses.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I
think it's beautiful.
I do too. I was showing the kids what the shadows look like, because they are the crescent moon shaped shadows. So pretty.
So beautiful. Yeah, I love it. I really do.
Yeah.
Our bug guy that comes every year, he travels all over the United States to see him. He's one of those guys. He loves it. And he can always tell you where the next total eclipse is going to be. I can make that one, he'll say. I think it was the total in North Carolina the year that it was here, the partial one. And I think he went up there and stayed for a few days, he and his wife, to see it. But yeah, that may have something to do with it too. And
you can see why people panicked in ages ago when
they didn't know.
It had to be, they didn't know. It had to be frightening, like the end of the world, that sort of thing.
Exactly. The sun was gone. It was swallowed by a dragon.
People were probably looking at it and going blind and stuff too,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's the truth.
Which they probably had ceremonies after that. They knew it was something big.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably took a few people up on the pyramid and cut a couple of hearts out or something.
Jeez.
I'm just kidding. Although they did do sacrifices, but
they did do that in the Pyramid of the Sun. And they did know the Aztecs and the Inca and the Olmecs. They all knew. They knew all that stuff.
Well, that's what they told us when we went to Chichen Itza.
Yep. Yeah. So, there are pyramids everywhere, and sacrifices were made. Somebody had to do it. Can't have that bird coming and swallowing that sun again. Yes. Who would like to? What is everybody prepared? Anybody want to go first?
Oh, Jesse's usually the one that has the really detailed stuff. So
I have some things to share. But whoever wants to go first is cool with me.
You can go first, Jessie.
Okay. Well, I did go to Ireland about 10 years ago, and we had a really lovely time. The people there were so lovely to us, and it was so beautiful. We drove all over the country. We just went and we rented a car, and then we stayed at different places, like kind of all in a big circle of the whole Republic of Ireland. And it was really amazing. We loved it so much. And one of the places that we went was called Duckett's Grove. And I don't know if y'all have heard of Duckett's Grove. I know Mom and Dad, you have, but have any of y'all heard of that place before?
It
Yeah.
sounds
I
familiar,
read
but I
about it
don't know.
today, but go ahead.
You read about it. Okay, cool. So we went there and it was really funny because I just kind of assumed like, okay, we'll go there and we'll just like be able to find it, like find directions or whatever. And we're trying to do that. And it was really ended up being kind of challenging. We ended up being like, okay, we got a map. And then we're like, we're going to ask like the locals, like, because I figured probably the locals would be like the people to ask, like, hey, how do we get to this place? We were stopping and asking people. Nobody knew what we were talking about. And we were just like, no one knows what we're talking about. Like, how do you not know? Like, I don't know. It was kind of wild to me. But so we ended up just driving around. We had a map and we kind of knew the general area that it was supposed to be in. And we drove and ended up just like kind of stumbling upon it. And we parked and there's like no one there. And there's like one or two cars parked, I should say. And so we kind of just, it's open. Like there's not like most places in the United States that I have been to, if you're going to any sort of like
Historical
park,
place. Mhm.
historical place, anything like that, there's usually a gate, an entrance. You have to go through
Gate.
the gate. You're paying for parking, like, things like that. None of those things were there. So it's just this gorgeous estate, like it looks like a castle, and it's incredibly beautiful. And you're just like, okay, I just walk up to this area, I guess, I should say it's been burned by a fire. So most of it is not finished and completed anymore. So it's not like a building that you can go knock on the door, right? So you're kind of going around ruins, but it's beautiful. If you see pictures, if you look up pictures, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous place. And it's just the interior has been destroyed. So we kind of wander around and we find there's like a little tiny tea shop there. And we walk in and there are two people in there. One who was kind of in the back, and then there's a man in front. And we're like, like just kind of like coming in. We're the Americans, like, hey, I don't know if we're supposed to be in here. What's going on, And the guy that was out in the shop area turned around and he saw us and he like turns to the woman. He goes, oh, you have a visitor. And she's like, I have a visitor. She like comes out. She's all excited. And she's like, oh, hello. And I'm like, hi, we just kind of wanted to look around. Like, do we need to do anything? And she's like, oh, no. Yeah, please feel free. Go ahead, look around and enjoy. And we're like, okay. And she's like, we'll be leaving in a little bit, but yeah, take your time, have fun. And we're like, so, okay. So she leaves. She ends up, we walk out. We just kind of are wandering around this estate. We stayed there for hours. They left. So we end up just being there, just us by ourselves, just walking around this beautiful place. They have gardens and stuff like that. But then it was shocking to me as an American to be like, they trusted that we could. I was shocked, okay? But this place has a really, really neat history. So it is supposed to be haunted. If you've heard of it before, you might have seen it on some ghost investigation shows and things like that. I know Josh Gates did like a live investigation there. I think it was in 2004, it feels like, maybe, or 2011.
Did he do it on Halloween or something?
Yeah, and he did
Yeah.
a live investigation there, and it was really fun. I remember Mom and Dad and I watched it all together. And because this estate was actually built by a family, William Duckett, overhauled it in the 1830s. And the family that lived there really loved it, and they loved their staff too. Reportedly, they were really good to their staff. They treated their people very well. They had like 11 groundskeepers. They had beautiful parties there. It was like a very well-loved place by the family that lived there. Um, and by 1916, it was owned by Mary Duckett. And she left that area, which is Carlow, and she moved to Dublin. And at that point, the house kind of wasn't with the family anymore and was kind of falling into an era where it wasn't occupied by the family and being loved in that way anymore. And so a group of farmers and workers bought the estate. And then they were having issues and couldn't come up with an agreement on like how to divide the land. And the Irish Republican Army actually ended up making a headquarters there in 1922. So the home has gone through like a lot of different eras and a lot of different energies coming in and out of the house. In 1933, on April 20th, it was burnt by a fire. They don't know what caused the fire. So that's still a mystery. So sad because it's just such a beautiful, beautiful place. But people have reported to see the spirit of William Duckett, who he was the one who overhauled it in the 1830s. And he was the one who his family lived there, and it became a place full of like, they would have beautiful parties and they loved their staff so well. And people have seen him and have seen him also riding a horse around the grounds of the estate. People have also heard servants there, or what they believe to be the servants, speaking audibly. They can hear their disembodied voices. So that's when you actually hear the voice in the moment, not hearing it back later on a recording, but you're hearing it in the moment. And people also hearing cutlery coming from like the kitchen areas, kitchen area, the former kitchen, which would make sense with a place that was full of so much like love and life and parties and celebrations. Another thing people have reported to see, which I'm very happy to say, I didn't see anything like this when I was there, but people have reported to see what's described as a demonic dog with long shaggy hair and blazing red eyes patrolling the grounds. That's not fun. That would scare me. People have reported lights, a horse and carriage. There's a story of a man who was riding his horse near the estate, and when he approached the estate, his horse froze and would not continue on and just was frozen. And he, no matter what he did, he couldn't get his horse to go. And then he, according to the story, took out his rosary beads and put them on his horse's neck, and the horse continued on at that point. But it sounds like he didn't, according to the story, he didn't see anything or anything like that. But the horse was very scared in the area. It sounds like. People have also been touched by things there. They've heard whispers. Investigation teams have had like Marjorie says horse sense. That's funny. Yeah. Sixth horse sense. They've the investigation teams that have gone there have reported things like equipment malfunctions, stuff like that. And people have heard the sound of bagpipes, which is pretty unusual. Sorry, my cats are getting fed right now, and the automatic feeder is right here. So if you hear that, pause.
Thought it was symbols.
Little teeny ones.
Did you experience anything when you and Adam were there?
What's that?
Did you or Adam or Soren experience anything when you were there?
Honestly, I didn't. It was my favorite place, I think, of all of Ireland. Like, it was so lovely there. Like, and we literally just spent hours. It was just the three of us wandering around the grounds of this old estate. And we took a lot of pictures, and Soren was just running around and having a great time. And I tried to see if I could see anything or experience anything personally. I didn't. It was a really, like, just, I can't even explain. It was just really a lovely, lovely place. It makes me think about that family and how much they love that space, and you know, they cherished it.
Maybe that's what you were picking up on.
Yeah.
Was William Duckett and his family and all the love that they put in there, that it was a whole bunch of residual of that.
Maybe so. Maybe so. An interesting thing about Duckett's Grove is that it's been associated with the Banshee, and the legend of the Banshee. And if you're not familiar, and I don't know if anyone else is going to talk about the Banshee at all. I'm not going to deep dive on her, but I'll just talk about it a little bit.
I had a little bit about her description and some stuff like that, but
good. I'm going to let you talk about that.
It does. I had some different notes so that I could have some just
pick and choose. Well, if there's anything you want to add to this, but basically, like a banshee is a spirit, and it's usually associated with prior to a death. So if you hear the banshees wail, it's supposed to, in a lot of cases, portend your death or the death of somebody close to you. And it comes from the Irish words Banshee, and that means woman of the fairy mound, which is cool because that kind of ties into a lot that we've talked about when we did our elementals episode, and we talked about fairy mounds and fairy rings. And I think on last month's episode, we even talked about fairy rings and mounds and trees and things like that.
Yep.
So it's almost like a harbinger, right? So if you hear the banshee, it's a warning that someone close to you is on the verge of passing, or that you are in trouble. And some versions of the legend, it's you are in trouble and that you will pass soon. The banshee that is associated with Duckett's Grove is supposed to be the spirit of a woman who William Duckett had an affair with, and was supposed to have died on the grounds and after falling from a horse. And that's, per the legend there, supposed to be the banshee that is associated with the grounds there. According to the legend of that home, it's said that people heard the banshee cry before the home burned. And if you remember, they haven't discovered what the cause of the fire was at the time. So and that was 1922. So very interesting. People say that they've seen the banshee in the woods near the house, which after being there, it's a pretty wide open area, but there are gardens and areas that you can kind of wander around um, on that property. I think it's something like 5,000 acres right now that
Wow.
property sits on. Um, but it's not like heavily wooded around it. And we did walk around and explore there outside a lot. And like I said, it was very peaceful and joyful there for us, and very warm and welcoming. And we loved it. And that's the legend of Duckett's Grove, and some of the hauntings associated with it, and the legends associated there.
It's interesting because I did a deep dive on elementals.
Mhm.
I found out, okay, so you said it's banshee, and
Yeah.
the she is spelled SIDH,
Yes.
but it's in Irish.
Mhm.
Some Irish people, the Irish language is really funny. Some Irish people say sit instead of she, but most say she. There's and
Or
that's
it's also spelled like SIDE. Like it looks like side in American English. Yeah.
but the she are the fairies, and it's was really interesting to me what a huge part the fairies, the leprechauns, and the banshee, and those type of creatures play in Ireland. They all have their own will and their own desire and what they think is good and bad, and they do that. Whereas the elementals don't. They don't have any code of right or wrong or any reason to do things on their own. They do what they're told. And it's the Irish mythology is just really interesting. The more I studied it, looking for to talk about today, the more I found that there are so many conflicting viewpoints. It's amazing to me.
Sure.
And even the archaeologists who studied and try to figure out where the Irish came from, nobody agrees. Even the scientists can't agree. And I'm not just talking Irish scientists, I'm talking any scientists that go there. They can't agree. We were talking a little bit about the Tuatha De Danann, which even they say that name differently in Irish, two different types of Irish.
Mhm.
Some of them say Tuat De Danann, and others say Tu De Danann. So that was the mythological race that was supposedly the beginning of Ireland. And, the monks of the 11th century are the ones that wrote about the Tuatha De Danann, and they said that they arrived on a big dark cloud and came down to the earth on this cloud. Now, this is what the monks are saying. Some people said that they were very tall and silvery, and others said they had blue skin. Everyone agrees that they had red hair and blue eyes, and that they were also very magical. They could do all kinds of magical things. Of course, ancient alien theorists believe that they were aliens from another planet and that the cloud was a UFO, and that their magic was just the same thing that we have. Like one of the leaders had this magic sword that could never fail. It always met its mark. It always knew where to hit. It had like fire coming out of it, and they think it was probably some kind of early weapon that, today we have all kinds of weapons like that. And then they reportedly, after some time, left and went underground. And some people believe it would come on. are still living underground in Ireland today. And they're also the people that instructed the Druids on Druids magic. So I find that fascinating. I mean, but there are many different stories about the Tunitate and where they came from and who they actually were. But everyone agrees they were the first people of Ireland.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fascinating to read about it all. You want to hear about the elementals?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So an elemental spirit is a non-human spirit made up of mostly of energy from one of the elements. Elementals generally can be helpful or harmful to humans. They lack any human moral code of right or wrong. For this reason, the Irish fairies, are not classes as elemental spirits, as they are separate race other than human or elementals, and they have their own moral code of ethics and customs. The Irish Druids were known to conjure elementals through their rituals to either protect an area or cause destruction. In the case of Leap Castle in County Offaly, one local myth says that the elemental spirit was created by the traumatic death of an ancient O'Carroll that died there from leprosy. And Sean O'Carroll owns the Leap Castle there now, and it's really haunted. We've watched shows about that. Jess, you remember him, right? He
Mhm.
made Irish stew for everybody.
Yeah.
Reports of visitors seeing a decomposing face and smelling a strong stench. It may also be a summoned element from the Druids performing a ritual. Traditionally, in the culture of Ireland, there were 7 elements. These corresponded to the human body: earth, physical body; sun, base; sea, blood; cloud, thoughts; wind, breath; stone, bones; and spirit, life force. Also, traditionally, people swore an oath to 3 of the elements: land, sea, and sky. Those were elemental spirits. Earth elements, air elements, fire elements, water elements, spirit elements, space elements, and these are elements that are not of this earth, elementals that are not of this earth but come from outside the earth's atmosphere, often mistakenly thought of as angels or aliens. They come from another world or plane of existence like the other elementals. They were neither good nor bad, but simply did what they were bid to do. And then this one I found really interesting because we've talked about it before, having to do with hauntings. An artificial element. They are generally created by the thoughts of a human that has taken on a life of its own.
Like
They
a
are,
tulpa.
yep, yep. They are
Oh,
created
I'm
when
sorry, a what?
A tulpa.
Okay.
remember Jesse talked about that?
Yeah.
Yep. They are created when a person becomes obsessed with an idea, person, or object. This is a conscious thought form. Creation is technically a type of magic. Traditionally, Druidic practice of creating an entity for a specific purpose, infuse it through mental visualization, and give it a life from their own vital energy. This can also be done unintentionally, and a common problem occurs when the entity returns to the creator to be re-energized from the creator's energy. And I mean, you find this kind of stuff in almost every belief system and every country in the
I
world.
was thinking that exactly the same thing.
Yes, yet they all say the same thing. You know, in the Jewish tradition, what did they call it? But they made it out of clay and it walked.
A
I forget.
golem.
Oh, the
Golem.
golem.
Yeah, the
Golem.
golem.
Golem. Yep. And so you see that over and over again, but within the paranormal world, many people believe in that artificial elemental, that there's a place where there's been, like, we're going to Gettysburg, that there can be things there that never were human, you know, that never were living, but were created by everything that went on there, by all the trauma. And if you've ever seen any of those shows where they show creepers that, you know, I don't know if you know what they are. They're like black, they look sort of pseudo-human, but they crawl up walls and they crawl along.
Cross ceilings.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're creepy.
Ew.
A lot of people think that that's what they are, that they're made up from a lot of traumatic stuff that happened there. Maybe a lot of anger, maybe murder, something like that. But a constant state of that then takes on a life of its own. So,
Well, isn't that very much like not so much the physical being, but the poltergeist is
it's very
brought
much like that.
yeah, by a child's
Mhm.
energy
Mm-hmm.
that
Yep.
is either drawn to it or creates it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Very similar to that, except on the negative side.
On the negative side.
Yeah,
It's amazing what our minds can do.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, it is. And usually it's like you said, a pubescent child, but it can also be anybody that's under any kind of emotional stress can cause poltergeist activity.
Yeah.
So
One thing, and since you were talking about them, one thing that I didn't do a deep dive on the Druids, but one thing when I was reading, because it was kind of in the periphery of some of the things, it said the Druids did not write anything down. All of the things that we know about them were written by the Romans or written by other cultures about them, that they did not write like down anything about their history or anything.
Marjorie has a question. Did this one wrong? So, there you go. Does Slender Man fall into that category?
Yeah. Of a tulpa.
Yep.
Hmm. That's the thought of it, because we know Slender Man, where the legend of Slender Man originated was on a creepypasta. Like you can find and see where the legend of Slender Man originated, and then it like kind of went viral, so to speak, and like people like really loved it and like believed it. And the thought is that when people are experiencing the Slender Man phenomenon, like that it's a tulpa created from that energy of people just being so into the idea and believing so fervently that it is real, like manifesting it in a way.
Yeah.
From the energy of so many people believing that same thing or believing it to be real.
Yeah.
And as far as poltergeist, I don't want to get into it now, but if we have another topic another time, I do have some very interesting things to say about that and experiences in my family. But it's way too much to go into now.
Oh,
Unless you
Cool.
want me. We're still doing Irish stuff. I wrote all this down.
Yeah. We can save it for another day. We won't forget.
Okay.
do your Irish stuff.
Okay. Well, Jesse, when you were just talking about the red-eyed dog,
Yes.
I read something where they're called pukas,
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
and that they can either mean bad luck, but occasionally they're warning of danger.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not always the same thing. But I just wanted to read this one thing, and I'm sorry, I apologize to you men, but it says Matcha, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, is an old Irish legend of Ulster, who is said to be a mysterious woman who, when suspected of having magical abilities, was forced to run against the king's horses while pregnant in order to pay for her husband's crimes. For revenge, Matcha cast a curse on the men of the town, who are said to have suffered labor pains for over 9 decades. Yes!
Oh, yeah. Matcha's my girl.
Sorry.
That's a long.
That's a long time.
That's a long time.
Yes, it is. That is a long time.
I thought the 52 hours was long, but dang.
My longest was 22. I can't imagine 52. Holy cow.
Well, you know what's funny is that I was in labor that long with Jessie, and then she was in labor that long with her son. And Jessie was number 6. I thought, oh, this is going to be easy. It's just going to pop out. And it's 2 days later, I'm still walking up and down hills.
It's like, I'm not ready.
Yeah.
The 22 was my first son, and he was already 5 days late, and
Yeah.
he wasn't coming either. And I ended up having to have a C-section because he was like, his chin was stuck like on my pelvis, and the umbilical cord was partially, so
Ooh.
they couldn't do anything. He's like, you have to do a C-section. But yeah, he didn't want to come out either.
And you
It's nice
said
and cozy in
you
there.
thought of that 22 hours ago.
I was going to say, after all that time.
Hmm.
But I found some other things. I don't know if you want me to read any of them. I found that apparently I turned down the lights in here because I have a bit of a headache, so it's going to take me some time to read this. But the Irish believe that butterflies, and I don't know, this is just what I was reading, have the ability to move between worlds, bringing messages from beyond. But if it's a dark-winged butterfly, that it could be bad news. And then there was this other thing where mermaids in Ireland, and not elsewhere, where elsewhere they're like always beautiful and alluring, are pig-faced with sharp teeth, but still somehow they consider them alluring. So that's a little weird. And then
Well, they
there
did
was
a lot.
there's a
They drank a lot.
Slancha.
oh yes, I'll take anything after I've had a few of those.
Yeah.
But there's a thing about and I don't know how to pronounce any of these words, but it's Abertach. It's an Irish word for dwarf. It is said he was an evil dwarf and became an undead vampire who roamed Northern Ireland at night and drank the blood of his victims. And it is said that the Abertach was a possible inspiration for Bram Stoker's Dracula story. I have no idea. I never heard of anything like that.
I never heard that
Oh, I've
either.
never heard that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And then it goes on. I'm not going to read the whole thing about how he was finally killed and blah, 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 blah. But there's a thing called a mucky,
Mm-hmm.
where it's a mysterious creature that inhabits the lakes of Killarney, and it's called the mucky. And it said in 2003, scientists conducted sonar scans of the lakes and found a large solid mass in the water, fueling speculation that Ireland had its own version of the Loch Ness monster. But that they believe it was this mucky. Yeah, let's see. Hold on, there's another one. I don't know how this is pronounced either. A Fir Gorta is said to be an abandoned corpse with grayish-green skin, deathly thin, long, dirty nails, and probably some people have had enough to drink these. He's pretty attractive too, but and often with rotten flesh.
I'm listening. No, I'm
or flesh missing, particularly on the cheekbones, clothed in rags. Wait a minute, I'm trying to read this in the semi-darkness. Oh, and that he walks the earth at times of famine. And those who pay alms are blessed by him, but those who do not are cursed until the end of their days with eternal hunger, poverty, and bad luck. And during the great famine of the 1840s, the tale of the Fir Gorta emerged, where it was said he rose from a patch of hungry grass. I'm not sure what that means. But anyway, that's all I got.
So, Robin, I would say that is some very good research for your books,
yeah.
for your characters.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm going to have to hold on to this and not throw it away.
I mean, those could be alien too, you know.
Yeah.
Marjorie says, my son was nearly a month overdue. They tried to induce him, and even that didn't work. I went home and rearranged the living room. He finally gave up and was born 2 days later. He was 9 pounds,
Wow.
14 and a half ounces at birth.
Wow.
He was right. That's almost 10 pounds.
Ooh-wee.
Gosh.
Mine were all tiny. Well, the second two were early, but
None of mine were tiny.
even the one that was 5 days late was only 6 pounds, 11 ounces.
Wow.
Yeah, he was small kids.
That thing about the famine, yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I wanted to dive into it a little more.
Let me tell you, my mom said they would eat grass, even though it had no nutritional value, she said that they had nothing, you
Right.
know,
Right.
because of the potato blight and everything.
Right.
And,
That's
you know,
sad.
they used to lower the kids on ropes over the cliffs of Moore down into the water to get quahogs, clams.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. It was rough.
that's horrible. But I'm going to recommend this book, Mythic Ireland. I bought it ages ago. It was written by somebody named Michael Dames. I bought it ages ago, and it's one of the few books on my shelf that I haven't actually read. And I thought, "Ah, perfect. I'll
Yeah.
write this
How,
up."
how fortuitous.
Yes.
Awesome.
So just real quick, the one, because I mean, some of the things that y'all were talking about, a few of them, you know, I had read some things about. One of them I had never heard of before, and is the Selkies. If anybody's ever heard of that, I had never heard of that before. Which are a shapeshifter between a seal and a person.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they would shed their seal skin to be on land.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that they were also very seductive, but they were supposed to, you know, be attractive when
Right.
and
In their
they-
human form.
yeah, and they said sometimes that if men wanted to marry them, they would trick them by hiding their skin because they had to have the skin to be able to turn back.
Yes.
And so they had a lot of very unhappy marriages. But if they found their skin, that they would go back. But anyway, I had never heard of that before, and it said that, you know, that most of them were very welcoming and you know, helped humans and everything. But there were, you know, that there were some that didn't quite, but there, as a rule, that they did, and I'd never heard of that before. And it was funny, about almost exactly 10 years ago, maybe 9, that my husband and I went to Ireland, which that's the friendliest place I've ever been in my life.
Oh,
And we
so
did
good.
a coach tour for 2 weeks all the way around. And we actually stayed in Cabra, which is a haunted castle that you can actually, you know, they actually allow you to. It's like a hotel too.
Mhm.
But of course, I was, you know, because as we were walking through, we didn't stay in the older part. I mean, they have some built on the side, so all the dining and all of those kind of things were in the main castle, but these were kind of extended. But there was supposed to be and it's not far from Dublin, but it was really cool being, you know, inside it and everything. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, we didn't see anything.
Yes, you stayed in the haunted castle too, didn't you?
Yeah, that was the other thing. That's perfect segue. I was gonna talk about Ballyseedy Castle, which is Duckett's Grove. We sought out. That was like a place that I knew I wanted to go to in Ireland and experience, and I'm so glad I did. The other things that we would do, we had like a travel agency book our lodging and stuff for us, but we were just driving around on our own. We weren't doing any tours or anything. So we would literally like pick a spot on a map, like put our finger down and be like, let's drive there, because everywhere there was so beautiful. Everywhere you went, there was some history, or there was a graveyard that you could walk around, and they would have graves from the 1500s, and then right next to it a grave from 2010, and you're like, this is so cool. It was just beautiful. We stopped at a place that we went and walked down a path and ended up coming upon an abbey from the 1500s that you could just go in and, again, walk around. There was a big tree in the middle. It was, I mean, go to Ireland if you can. It's magic. It's beautiful. Like you said, the people are so lovely everywhere we went. And and funny. And
Mhm.
we ended up, so the travel agency booked us at this place called Ballyseedy Castle. And I didn't know when they booked it, but it is supposed to be one of the most, it's on the list of like the most haunted places in Ireland, And when we went there, like after they booked us in that hotel, I did look it up and I saw that. So I kind of knew that it was said to be haunted, but we were staying there and sleeping there with a tiny child. And I was like, I don't want to go looking for any experiences here. Like, I was like, I want to just sleep and enjoy our trip. We had it's a beautiful, beautiful castle. There, like suits of armor on display in the halls, and we had this gigantic room with a window seat looking over the castle grounds.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, and it had a giant armoire in the room, like an old antique armoire, and a big beautiful bed, and just like our own like just private beautiful bathroom. It was gorgeous. Like and we didn't have any experiences there personally, like I said. What I did when we stayed there, because I really just was like too, I don't know, I just sleeping there with like our little one, and I was too wound up to try and like experience anything in the middle of the night, because I just knew like if I went looking for it, it would be like in the middle of the night, and like Adam, my husband, would be sleeping, and like, I'm like, I wouldn't be able to sleep. And so I put headphones in when I went to bed. And I shut my eyes and I put the blanket over, and I was like, I'm shutting down, not open for business here. We're sleeping. But it was a beautiful place. It has a really interesting history. There have been a lot of things that happened there. It was a fortress back in the 16th century. There was a man beheaded there on the grounds. An earl was beheaded there. Then the castle after, let's see, the man who was beheaded was Gerald Fitzgerald, which is a great name, if you ask me. Like, if the Irish have a sense of humor, they do. So Gerald Fitzgerald, after he was beheaded, the lands were seized and handed to Thomas Blennerhassett. And the rent that he paid was £6 a year, and a single red rose that had to be picked from the castle estate each midsummer's day. And it says it was supposed to be like a poetic thing. It was a rose grown from the tears and bloodshed of the Fitzgerald family and their loss of lands and freedom. So apparently that's the rent the Blennerhassett, Thomas Blennerhassett had to pay. And it remained in their family for many generations, and was renovated by that family to what it is today, which, like I said, it's gorgeous. Like, it's very, very beautiful. They also have a castle dog, and he was like, he was just like a little mutt, and so sweet and cute. Of course, I walked in and immediately was like, the dog,
He wasn't.
The one we were in
No.
had two wolf hounds.
Ooh, that's so cool.
They were beautiful.
This was just a little tubby little guy, and he was really, really sweet though. And so people experience things at this castle. There is a descendant of the Blennerhassetts who died in 1965. Her name was Hilda. and she was buried in the Ballyseedy Cemetery, which is actually just off the castle gates. Like I said, there are like these cemeteries everywhere there that they have graves from the 1500s and then graves from, she died in 1965. She was buried there. There's still, I love it there. So apparently up until that point in 1965, they were still, when they were paying for the home, the tradition of the single red rose was still happening and being honored. And once her estate was put up for auction, that ended. And it became the hotel that it is now that you can go stay in. And Hilda is supposed to be seen on the grounds. So she's one of the spirits that is said to be seen there. And interestingly enough, I was like, where was this back in January? Because when we were looking for anniversary crimes, Hilda is supposed to appear on the 24th of March at somewhere on the grounds or in the hotel, in the castle. And a lot of times people see her in the window of her turret room. I guess she used to stand there and look out at the grounds. I mean, it is stunningly beautiful. It's said that they haven't displayed any roses within the castle since 1965 when she passed. However, people often smell roses in the halls of the castle, which is like a very symbolic thing for the home and that family.
Yes.
So to honor the prior family there. Yeah, and so people have experienced things like lights turning on and off, televisions turning on in rooms that are not unoccupied, and people have reported pets that shouldn't be there. There's a pet cemetery on the grounds as well, and so they're said to be spirits of pets that can be seen in the driveway. It's got like a big, beautiful driveway around it and drive that comes up to it. So that's Ballyseedy Castle. And like I said, I kind of shut myself off from it when I was there, but it was gorgeous and really fun. And I think if we went back, I would definitely investigate and ask a lot more questions. But I don't know. I just had a 1-year-old with me, so I felt weird.
Well, when you go back, maybe we can have a live feed and you can.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to go next year to Ireland and Scotland.
Let's go investigate.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. We want to go to we wouldn't want to go to Scotland.
Oh yeah.
And well, I've never been to England either. I'd like to go to like Wales and Northern England.
Yeah. Nice. That'd be really nice.
It was interesting reading about what anthropologists and archaeologists think about the beginnings of Ireland and Scotland and England and Wales. And there's so many different theories about where the people there are from. It's crazy. There's so many debates about it. I had no idea that it was such a big thing, but apparently when you do DNA of Irish people, you get all this other stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting.
I have a quick little, my grandfather was Irish. And I don't know I think his parents came over from Ireland. I don't think that he was living there. But there was a story, a family story that was told quite often, and how at some point my grandfather woke up from a dream, and from sleeping, and told my grandmother about a dream that a leprechaun had told him to go do something, lottery. I guess there's been a lottery around for a while anyway, but he wasn't allowed to tell anybody. And he told my grandmother, who told him he was ridiculous and don't do it. And apparently the numbers that leprechaun had given him once it came in. And I think that's just like one of those stories, but I was always amused by it.
That is
I'm like,
funny.
Sweepstakes.
Yeah, the Irish sweepstakes, they've been around. forever.
Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, so he didn't do it. We didn't do it because my grandmother told me he's an idiot. And there's a little bit of a bone of contention between them, I guess.
That's funny too, because Irish leprechauns do not have a good reputation.
Right. They're
Mhm.
usually troublemakers.
Yeah.
Marjorie says, sorry about the birth story. I gave myself brain freeze eating a bowl of still frozen fruit for supper. Hello. We all enjoyed your birth story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Telling them. Yeah.
No apology necessary.
No. We were all excited about much and what she'd done. It was like, yes.
Yeah. my
Okay.
daughter-in-law has sent me there's a link to some YouTube videos, and I haven't looked at them yet, where so that men could feel what women feel like.
Yes.
Yeah. And they hook them up, and yeah, I haven't looked at that yet, but she keeps telling me I need to.
It's very funny.
I'll have to look at it tomorrow.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to meet the guys that would agree to do that.
Well, probably because they thought, yeah, it's nothing. But fine, I'll show her.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
Because I think their wives probably had a lot to do with why they did that.
Probably.
Yeah, you think it's nothing? Okay.
Yeah, here you go. Try it on for size. And it's not even real, guys, but imagine if it was.
On Big Bang Theory, one time there was this episode about Howard and his wife were having their second child, and he was freaking out, and she said, I know it's hard for you, because she was worried and concerned, and she said to her husband, I know it's hard for you too. And he said, I'm so glad that you said that. He said, the last time when you were in labor, you squeezed my hand so hard. I just couldn't stand it. And she looks at him and he goes, yeah, okay.
Never
When will
mind.
Yeah, sorry that was so hard for you, dear. I squeezed.
I remember them bringing this full meal in when I was going through labor and setting it down. And she said, oh, I bet you're not hungry. And, and my husband's like, I'll take it. So not even thinking what that would be like to me for him to just sit there and take it. And so and then he goes and sits down at the table and is like, oh, this is good. And I'm like, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill him.
Yeah.
I know you can't eat anything. And so, yeah, guess who didn't get to eat anything?
There you go.
He wasn't going to eat or sleep or do anything.
It's only fair.
Sounds darn straight. Especially Jess. It was like, oh my God, And then when she was in labor that long, I was at work, and finally my boss said to me, you know what? You're really worthless here. You just need to leave. I said, I know, but it's just been so long. I'm so worried. We were in DC then, and she was here in Florida. Oh,
I can't imagine that long. I was whining about it being 18 hours, but
It's all hard. Boy.
18 hours is a long time.
Yeah. That's
I don't remember.
Not 52.
I don't remember it being all that bad myself.
Yeah.
Had
I
4 kids.
noticed you're saying that when Beth's not sitting right there. I mean,
She can't
she's
hear
not
me.
in the room.
She's not here.
Yeah.
So there's some good blackmail fodder there for everybody.
I have her number, so
We changed it last week.
Plus, did you forget this is going to be on the website?
Tampa Bay Spirits website embedded there.
Does she know that?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
she knows that very well.
I think she created the dang thing.
She
so-
did.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is that.
Yep. Yep. There is that for sure.
Well, speaking of the website, we have had some international action on the downloads on the audio of our shows. And
Oh, nice.
we're still 93% US over the last year. But we've had most of the out of country ones are from Indonesia. We've had 8 downloads from Indonesia, 2 from Ireland, 2 from India, and 1 from Sweden.
Nice.
Yeah, well, that's cool.
That's great.
The
So,
most downloaded one was the one about angels and miracles.
yeah.
People really seem to like that one.
Yeah.
That
And they
I got
would.
enough stuff for repeats. I mean, to do like that subject again, there's probably
Angels and miracles for sure.
Yeah.
We only scratched the surface.
yeah.
And
Well,
for
and we were just doing we were doing a lot of things that we were familiar with that happened. So
Mhm, mhm.
And I think
I mean-
people who, sorry, go ahead. I thought you were finished. I'm sorry.
I was just
Okay. I was just going to say
Traveling.
people who don't really, may not believe in spirits or, that sort of, would still feel something positive hearing about angels and things like that. So that's
And
probably why they're,
Yeah.
miracles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if they didn't want to hear anything, the rest of it, they're like, I'll take the angel part. Okay.
Like just said that she, put in headphones and covered up and everything so she wouldn't be bothered during the night. I think a lot of people that aren't used to investigating or sensing things or seeing things or whatever are frightened.
Right.
They don't want to have any kind of experience because it's frightening to them. I think
Right.
the ghost hunters were wonderful because they constantly said when they first started, it's just, people. It's
Yes.
just people that don't have a body. And so there are nice people and there are some not so nice people, but it's just people. And
Right.
there's-
It's not monsters. They're just people. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And so, I think it's been portrayed otherwise for the sake of drama and fun and entertainment.
In Hollywood.
Right.
Mhm. And
And in
that's
books.
okay.
And in books.
Yeah, that's fun. But I think people are really afraid. I mean,
It's the unknown.
yeah.
Yeah,
I can't tell you how many times people have said to me, if that happened to me, I would be gone. You were going to say something, Beth?
No, I said anytime you're dealing with the unknown, there's going to be some fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
We have a couple of teachers that don't even want to talk about it
Yeah.
at school. They're scared.
Well, we did an investigation, just did an investigation with us at a house in Ruskin, and the wife wanted us to come back, and the husband said no. He was not a believer. He did not believe in the paranormal. He did not think that there was such a thing as ghosts. He just didn't believe it. And when we went there that night, it was hopping.
It was
Proved to him that it was real.
bonkers.
It was totally.
It was
bonkers.
quiet at first, and then it was like off to the races,
Just
nonstop.
a call, and there was like this release of energy that was so loud, and you could see it like a lightning strike or something through the air, and it just went bam,
So crazy.
like, I'm here. It was like, whoa. Yeah, but he saw and heard things that he'd never seen or heard before. He was sitting behind me and I heard him go, "Did you see that? Did you see that?" Yeah, it's okay.
I had something happen at a friend's house and I never told her because I know she would have been afraid.
She
But
couldn't have slept in her own house again, right?
yeah, because she asked me to take care of her vegetables while she was away and bring in the stuff that was ripe. And yeah, I had gone to use the little girl's room, and I heard and saw somebody walk by. Like you could see the shadow of footsteps and hear them. And I was like, at first I was like, is there somebody in this house with me?
Yeah.
And then it repeated several more times, but not like it came back. It was like almost like residual. It kept coming in the same direction.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it to another friend who also knew her. And she said, I felt something in that house too. She said, we'll never tell her. I'm like, nope. Lips are sealed.
Well, Jess's sister lived in a house that was really haunted. And you were taking care of the dogs one time, right, Jesse?
Yeah, I think I shared that story here before because we were talking about, like, there have been times where I've been startled and I had this same thought. I had the same thought the other day, right? Like I'm thinking, hey, before I go to something paranormal, let's make sure that this isn't a security situation that I need to
Right.
take care of, right? Like something I can address that should be addressed. But I had a similar thing happen at my sister's house when I was pet sitting for her. And I was on the phone with my mom, and I had let the dogs outside. So it was just me in the house. And I was leaning against her kitchen counter, talking to my mom, waiting while the dogs were outside. And I saw a profile of a person walk from right to left to the doorway, and on the other side of that doorway was like their front room, dining room, and there was like a piano right to the right and sliding glass doors that went out to the backyard. So I saw this person walk by and my mom was talking, and I sat up, like, because I was leaning on the counter. I like stood up like straight, and I was like frozen for a second because I was like, there is a person in the
Right.
house with me. And so, and I went silent. Mom was still talking. She didn't notice, which was so funny because I was completely silent. I walked in the front room. I looked for any person. There was no one there and nowhere they could have gone. And then I was like, okay, time for me to go now. I don't want this. I was like by myself in my sister's house. Like, this was like probably 20 years ago or more. And I like go over to the sliding door. I open the sliding door. I'm like, get inside to the dogs, I'm like, get in here, and they come inside. They're just being normal. So I like close, lock everything up. I walk outside. Mom was still talking. Hadn't noticed I had gone completely silent this whole time. And I'm like, oh my God. And I didn't want to like hang up, and I didn't want to talk about it until I got out of the house because it startled me so much because I thought there was an intruder, right? Or like somebody that shouldn't be there was there with me. It really startled me. And I walked outside and then I was like, oh my God, when I got in the driveway. And Mom's like, what? I'm like, I just had something really crazy happen. And it was one of those situations where for me, like it'll get my adrenaline pumping if I'm not expecting something like that to happen and I'm in a situation, especially like I was like a young woman by myself in a home that's not mine, and I think there's a person there. Like it got my adrenaline pumping and I was like, okay, this is not like I haven't given consent for this, in other words, right? Like I haven't invited this situation right now. I'm not in the headspace where I want to deal with this right now. So I'm leaving. Once I determined it wasn't an actual living person intruder in the house. So
But the interesting thing about that spirit is that it was white.
yes.
It wasn't it was white.
Like not like a dark shadow of a person or something. And it didn't look like it was like a white form. But like I literally thought it was like an actual person, but I would describe it as a white shape, not a dark shadow. A lot of people will see like shadow people. This was not a shadow. It was like white light.
Yeah, and that's why I thought at first that it was somebody in the house, because I heard boom, 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 and saw the shadow of feet under the door. You know how you can see
blocking the light, right?
Yeah.
Coming under the door. Yeah.
Yes, and I was like, I don't even have my phone. Somebody's in the house. But when it repeated, I'm like, that's not what it is. That's not what it is. And I thought, I'm not going to tell ever.
Isn't it funny that she was unaware that she had somebody there?
Yeah, I haven't brought it up to her because I don't want to, but she's never ever mentioned it.
Maybe she knows it and she's afraid to tell anyone.
Oh, that could be.
Like Jessie didn't want to talk about it while she was in
Right.
the house. Maybe she doesn't. And like that man, the husband of the woman I was just talking about, he didn't want us to go back there and stir everything up again because he thought it would be even more than
Right
that night. And which there's an element of truth to that. I think that is accurate. You know, the more you engage them, the more active they become.
I'm going to mute this a second because I just heard something. Oops.
Okay. As long as she comes back and lets us know.
We'll be grilling her. What was it? What did you hear?
Are you okay?
I know. That's really funny.
I heard knocking. I was like, who is at the door? I have this door and the hallway door shut so that the one cat won't bother me. She's really noisy. And the other one was knocking. He had his paw. He's going, bah, bah, bah. Like, what are you doing in there?
Oh my gosh.
We're telling ghost stories in here. Don't you have any?
Yeah, and hearing that knocking, I'm like, okay, now what?
Well, the cat has 9 lives, so
Yeah. I don't know where that came from, but
no.
Or why breaking a mirror is bad luck. I don't know why where any of those
Somebody
things came
probably
from.
got cut.
They probably
And
did.
blood
It's
to death.
very bad luck.
That's bad luck.
Oh, there's a subject, superstitions.
Yeah.
We could just
where they came from.
Irish superstitions because they have so many.
Yeah.
So many.
Well, any of our audience that's listening to this now or watching this, if you have some ideas on subjects that you'd like us to talk about, we'll research and we'll talk about them. And you can even come in, be live, and make comments.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Or just let us know you're there.
Yes. Yes.
Does anyone else have any other anything else they looked up about Irish legends or spirits or myths or anything like that?
This one book that I was just talking about was getting into some pretty heavy stuff about where they determine like the underworld is, you know, where, and it's like things like that, which I was like, I can't read this right now the way I'm. So I was, because I wanted to read it and talk about all of that, but yeah, I didn't quite get where he was coming from, so I'll just have to bring it up another time.
What was he talking about, the underworld? Because
he was talking about, he was saying there was four counties. Wait a minute. I actually marked it, I think. 4 counties, and the 5th was, oh, wait, that's not it. I marked a bunch of stuff. And that's about, crows and manifesting as the goddess. Hey. All right. Maybe it was right in the beginning. Hold on. Okay. I have all these pieces of paper stuck in here. Now that I'm saying it, I can't find it. I marked them because I figured I couldn't really like blab about him, but I wanted to go back and read them. Oh my God, that cat's carrying on. I might have to get up in a second too. He tells you what he does. In the middle of the night, he walks around going, "Hello."
Yes.
Hello?
We have a cat that does that too. She'll get a prize in her mouth, like a plushie, one of the kids' plushies, like a little stuffed animal, and she will carry it around, and it sounds like she's saying either mom or hello.
Yes.
And
I was like,
That would freak me out in the middle of the night.
yeah. Well,
it's so clear.
Like,
It's so
who is in the house?
I thought it was the kids. Like, so at first when she started doing it, I was like, oh, the kids are, like somebody's calling for me, because it sounds like mom from the.
It's weird. Hello.
I'm used to it now, but.
Yeah. Well, I still yell at him because it's like, I do have to sleep sometimes. Because he's choosing in the middle of the night. All right, I can't find it. I can't, but it had to do with there was like a hidden county, and that was where a lot of the spirits and elementals and all that came from there or something. I don't know. Like I said, I have to read it. I'll read it in more detail and we can discuss it like pre-show one night.
Yeah.
I'll say, I did read it. I can tell you what it says now.
One of the things that they say about the Tuatha Danann is that they did go into the underworld and that they're living there and are happy there and all that kind of stuff. And there are different.
Maybe that was what it was. Maybe that's what it was referenced.
I don't know. And I know that that's a big Irish myth. It's part of, their mythology and their origin beliefs, and even Christian Irish believe in all of this stuff and fairies and everything. So, I mean, it's really deeply embedded in the culture there. So,
and I mean, there are so many things in the world that are unexplained. And it's like, why would we assume that we know everything?
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Why would we assume just because we don't want to believe in it, it doesn't exist?
Right. Right. Yeah. We were watching an Expedition Unknown, which is Josh Gates, and his team had gone to Japan again. They had just been there, and they went again this time because you guys remember, I think it was the town Fukusaki or something where they had the nuclear meltdown.
Mm-hmm.
The big earthquake and tsunami
and then the nuclear power plant. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since that's happened, they've had so many UFO sightings there that the government has set up a place to study UFOs right there near where the nuclear plant melted down. And so they went over there to see what they could find. They saw some crazy stuff. They got it on film. It's like,
was it Fukushima?
Fukushima. That's it. Fukushima. Yep. It's still, a lot of it is uninhabitable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But people, our government has said, they've shown all those Tic Tac videos, and a lot of people that we talk have never even seen those videos or know anything about it. And our government has said it's not ours and it's not theirs. And a lot of people that we talk to say, yeah, but they didn't say it was extraterrestrial. And I'm like, well, if it's not ours and it's not anybody else's on the planet, then
Whose is it?
what is it?
Right. Right.
So, I mean, a lot of that stuff is really, really ramping up right now. I mean, a lot of that. But like you said, there's so many things that we don't know and that we don't understand. And we need to be open-minded about it
Right.
and try to figure out what it is. I mean, that's why we do paranormal investigations, right? What is happening? What is it? You know, I thought like Marjorie Deering brought up a really good point. Like maybe it was some kind of, you know, flash forward kind of thing.
I thought that was a really good point. I'm gonna have to tell Terry that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a really good point. A fluky flash forward type of experience.
Yeah.
Experiencing something that was going to happen. I mean, there are things like that that happen to people all the time. And we can't just say, well, you know, they're making it up. Everybody couldn't possibly be making it up.
Right.
2 hours.
We're going on 2 hours again.
Wow. Because we have so much fun.
Well, it's all very
I
interesting.
know, but if anyone does have anything special they want us to investigate or look into, we would be happy to do that.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
if anyone needs our help in the Tampa Bay area, we're also happy to do that.
Free of charge.
Yes, free of charge.
Contact us through Tampa Bay Spirits
We're not-
1.com.
We're not charlatans. We are not mediums.
Do people that come in and do the other people that come in and do that stuff, do they charge?
Yeah,
There-
some people do.
Some people do.
Sometimes, yeah, it depends.
And every time you say anything you need, you know, we'll come. And I always think somebody's going to be calling you to mow their lawn. Yes, hi, you said you'd help me.
We have had some interesting requests.
Yeah. Do
We
you?
have
Oh,
had
never
very
mind.
But we can always send Les.
Oh,
Not long ago.
Yeah.
Les doesn't mind mowing.
But
You like to
that's-
mow, don't you?
good. Whatever need.
Okay.
That's why I want to stress none of us are mediums. We are not mediums. We cannot foretell the future. We don't foretell the
fortune
future.
teller.
Tellers.
No crystal ball.
We're all sensitives, which are different than being, you know, a psychic medium.
Can you tell me where I put my shoes that I can't?
Look on your feet.
Oh, there they are.
There they are.
No, I
Anyway.
can't. And I cannot tell you whether you should marry someone or not marry someone or anything like that. Don't know.
This
My-
is starting to sound familiar.
Yeah. My coworkers were all like sending me Ghostbusters gifts and saying like, who are we gonna call? Jesse. I was like,
Gave them something to talk about now.
I know. It's like, oh boy. So sorry.
People are
Dad and
very
I-
interested.
Dad and I just watched Ghostbusters with the women with Melissa McCarthy and stuff for the first time. We'd never seen it.
Mhm.
I saw it was on one of the streaming services we have, and I thought it was the original Ghostbusters, and it's been so long since I watched that. I said, "Oh, that'll be fun." I have the video, but you know, it's just too much trouble
The
to take
video.
the well, whatever you call it, not a video. You don't have those anymore. The
No.
DVD.
I am shocked that you have any kind of physical media of it.
We do.
We still do.
But
We never
anyway,
use it.
we never use it. We always watch it when it's on some streaming service. And it wasn't that. It was the one with the women. Whew. Worst stinker of a movie I've ever seen in my
Oh,
entire
really?
Oh,
What was
that's too
it?
bad.
Saying,
I heard it was funny. Ghostbusters.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I heard there's a
Yeah.
movie now, but yeah, I did see one on Netflix or something. Yeah, a new one.
The Afterlife.
Afterlife is
Yeah.
good.
That was
That one's good.
wonderful.
The
That
one
was
before that.
fabulous. Yeah, that was really good. No, this is the one where it wasn't the original Ghostbusters. It was 4 women instead of the 4 men. And
Oh, yeah, I didn't like that one.
their secretary, and I just didn't like it at all. I didn't find it funny.
No.
It was supposed to be funny, but it was just annoying.
I think there is a new one.
Yeah,
Yeah, there is.
freeze. Ghostbusters, the Deep Freeze. It's a sequel to Ghostbusters, the Afterlife.
Yeah.
But yeah, we loved
Dan
that.
Aykroyd was on that one.
They all were on
They all
except
were.
for,
Well,
you know,
Harold
Yeah.
Ramey.
Yeah.
Harold Ramis, because he died.
Ramis?
Raimi.
Raimi? Okay.
Maybe.
Couldn't remember his name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but it was supposed to be his.
Yeah, that's
brother.
right. They were all there. Now that I think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And they'll
Looking a
all be,
little older.
aren't we all?
I know.
Well,
It just reminds you how much older, how long ago that was and everything.
you saw that picture of Judith from Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
And Jim from Rockford Files.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the Rockford Files.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
that show.
I did too. Her husband was on it.
Mm.
He was
He was
a government
agent.
like a G-man. Yeah, on the series. He had multiple episodes with them. But I loved Rocky, Jim's dad,
Mm-hmm.
the guy who played Jim Rockford.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked him too.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was just something that was so much, in some of the earlier shows, it was complex, but there was so much simplicity and honesty in the acting that it wasn't like everybody was trying to go for jokes or trying to go for, to fit a political way they should do. It was just all natural. I mean, it was just people just did whatever they did, whatever the subjects, just very naturally and organically, and it never came off superficial. Maybe that's just me, but that's the way it felt.
Oh, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah. I loved the Rockford Files. I agree. It was really wonderful. And also I liked Maverick series too.
Yeah.
Same actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they both said last night that he really was as nice as he seemed. Everybody says that he is. He was really a gracious person.
Mm.
Yeah, and William Shatner turned 93 the other day.
Wow.
That's wild.
Dick Van Dyke is, what is he, 98? And he still does just see him on YouTube doing exercise things.
Yeah.
Still
Wow.
dancing.
I'm like,
funny.
yes,
It's
I
like,
love him.
Didn't he just
Love
turn
him.
Love him
100
too.
and then have that,
No, I think he's like 90.
or 99? I mean, they had that
was his
big birthday
birthday.
party for him on TV. Did you watch that?
For, are we talking about are we still talking about Dick Van Dyke?
And
Oh, so he's older than that. No, I didn't see that.
I don't know how old I don't remember. It was a big birthday party for him though. And it was, and they redid
He's
a bunch of
98.
stuff from Mary
98.
Poppins.
Wow.
Yeah, he looks great.
He does. William Shatner looks amazing for 93
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
And he is well spoken and everything, and he's still doing that show, The Unexplained, and
Yeah.
it's like,
He gave up on his music, though, I think, which was a good thing.
His
William
music.
Shatner.
Yeah. He
Oh,
he
yeah.
off the lyrics. Whatever the song was, I will
That
talk
was-
the lyrics.
he speaks through this.
It was really, really bad. Yes, I'm glad. he did.
Well, I really enjoyed last night's show, but one thing I was thinking as they were talking and about, I should have done this and I didn't do this for myself and I didn't do that for myself. And those were all wonderful lessons and lessons that they can give us. But in the back of my mind, I was thinking, but you wouldn't have been probably together and here, and that you had a greater purpose, that drove you there. That those are wonderful examples, but I just felt like that was meant to be, though, because you had a bigger purpose down the line.
That was the point that I made about my story about how I was offered that, the acting role with Joey Brown and Betsy Palmer,
Yeah.
and my parents wouldn't sign. They said, no, you're too young. And I said that. I said, probably I couldn't have handled it. I wasn't, equipped to do anything like that. But of course, I thought that I was, because I was 16. So, you know everything when you're 16.
Mhm.
But my parents told my children, your mother could have done that, but she chose not to. And I'm like, nope,
Wait a
nope,
minute.
no.
Don't regret
Don't make me out to be something I wasn't, because nope.
I went for a role in Cherry Hill. It was for a horror movie. This is years and years ago. And they called me in, sat down, there's two guys there, and they're like, scream. So I did. And they're like, perfect. But then my husband and my mother-in-law nixed the whole thing, and they're like, well, you can't do that. You can't be doing that. You have to take care of your kids, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, but if I do this, it's just for a short period of time. I get enough money that will help, with their college educations. So I had to tell them no. But yeah, they liked my scream. I'm like, wow, that's something to go for. Okay.
It's really funny.
Yeah, I guess it was blood curdling enough that they're like, yeah, she can do it. If she can't, we'll just pinch her really hard.
It's hard to scream.
Yeah, I don't know how. I mean, I let loose. Like they said, scream, so I'm like, okay. If you insist, I can do it.
All the frustration you had about everything else came out in that one scream.
Yeah, they're like, you're it.
Like, I'm a mother of young children. I can scream.
Oh yeah, I can scream really loud.
I can let some frustration out here. You want me to scream at you? Perfect.
Sure. Yes. Oy.
We should wrap up.
Yeah.
Let's get ready to.
Anyway, let us
Yeah.
know if you need us to investigate anything.
Right. Our
Mhm.
next show will be April 25th, the last Thursday in April.
Joy won't be here.
No,
Yep.
Joy will be traveling.
Traveling.
No, the next day.
All right, she'll
Oh,
be here.
okay.
Never mind.
I'll probably be able to be there.
Marjorie says it was interesting as always. Thanks, everyone. Good night. Marjorie, if you have anything you want us to talk
Just
about
let us
or
know.
look
Yeah.
into, research, we'll be happy to do it. We love doing it.
All right.
Well, good night, everybody.
Yep. Thank you.
Good
night. It was fun.
Yes, it was.
It was fun.
Until next time.
Until next time.
Until next time. Bye-bye.